The race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump is really heating up right now as the polls tighten more and more, and that comes at the same time as some truly disastrous things going on in the economy. For the last 4 years, you've been gaslit by the Biden-Harris administration saying that the economy is roaring. They pushed this leftist economic theory that somehow you can just print money willy-nilly and somehow inflation is never going to go up. They also, the whole point behind it is it's got this Marxist redistribution theory behind it that they're just going to print money, to give it to people who have student loan debts for going into, lesbian dance theory at Berkeley or, even something, a little more dumb like journalism. And for the second, I laugh about that because I'm a journalism major. And what the data is showing right now is that despite all the things that Kamala Harris has done, all the things that Joe Biden has done, after 3.5 long years of awful economic data, the 6 months before the election, and this happens all the time, the economy is starting to look a little bit better. And again, I talk about this a lot, but inflation, it adds up over time. So we're never getting that back. It's always going to be that way. So is the economy really great? It's really not. But in any case, people are perceiving it as getting better. This is not the case anymore. The Fed came out today with the numbers on job growth and unemployment. And much to the chagrin of Democrats, the rates are not being decreased. They're probably not going to be decreased even this year just because of where inflation is at. And this is really bad news for Democrats because it means that inflation has not, in fact, been curbed like you're hearing from Biden and Harris. Unemployment also, just a couple figures for you. This is just to show just how absolutely abysmal the economy is. It's never gotten good. It got medium for a couple months there, and people started feeling just because of the gaslighting from the media that maybe it was getting better. It was never getting better. Unemployment went up to 4.3%, which is kind of an average number. It's not awful, it's not bad, but what is more concerning is how fast it went up. I think it was at 4.1% to 4.3%, which is quite fast, and that usually is an indicator of a recession. CNN reported on this. They said this. They said, quote, July's surprisingly low estimated employment gains of 114,000 and the surprising high 4.3% jobless rate painted a picture of a significantly weaker job market and raised some fears of a pending recession. Last month's payroll gains were significantly lower than the 175,000 that economists were expecting. According to FactSet, the unemployment rate was forecast to remain at 4.1, but again, like I said, it went up to 4.3. This is the really interesting thing, though. However, while Friday's report showed that the cracks in the labor market may be widening, there are some indications it still remains on solid enough footing for now. It's a labor market that appears to be on the brink. If you or anyone that you know is looking for a job right now, you're feeling that on the brink kind of vibe. Unemployment rate, does it matter a little bit? Sure. There are certain things that go into an unemployment rate, such as how long someone's searching for a job, if they're even searching for it. We know that a lot of the government programs have made it so people don't even look for jobs. And so just because the unemployment rate is something does not mean that that is necessarily going to, translate into you. Again, we can look at the numbers all day long, but you as an individual, if you're looking for a job and you can't find one, you can't be gaslit enough by the Biden-Harris administration saying how good the economy is. The narrative from Kamala Harris right now is that Bidenomics is working. It's a complete farce. The narrative that jobs have been incredibly robust is completely crap. Anyone trying to find a job right now is having a significantly harder time finding a job than you were in 2018 under Donald Trump, hands down. Again, there's data out there to totally support that, but literally you can't be gaslit into it because you saw it. That is what people are experiencing right now. And so that jobs report came, with that jobs report came the stock drop. The market has just absolutely shot down today. Just today, the Dow is down 2.1%. The S&P is down 2.3%. The NASDAQ is down 2.7%. QQQ, which is a tech stock index, a lot of people are invested in it, is down 3% today. And then there's other ones that are down 4-5%. These are really, really bad numbers. If you look at, again, this is just today. This is one day. If you look at it over the week, a lot of these stock indexes are down 4-5%. Because it wasn't just today that was really bad. It's partly today because of the job declines and the unemployment rate going up. But this whole week has been abysmal. Here's the biggest question with this, though. Why aren't Republicans hammering Kamala Harris for helping cause this? Because make no mistake, she will continue to raise prices with her energy and spending policies as president. So why, again, Kamala Harris has no problem staying close to Biden and his policies, which is crazy. I mean, she has really no choice at this point, but it is kind of crazy because of how Americans view Bidenomics. So she's got no problem being close to it. Why are Republicans not focusing on that? Nobody wants the policies. I mean, she literally came out as a senator and said that she wanted to ban fracking. Do you know what that would do to gas prices? Do you know what that would do? I mean, gas prices would be over, basically. Do you know what that would do for grocery prices? Republicans have to remind Americans how bad the economy is because Americans have such poor memories. Sure, everyone's still hating the economy. You kind of feel it, but they should be hating the politicians who messed up the economy. Like, your hate doesn't need to be towards the economy. The economy should function fine on its own. It's the politicians who are screwing with it every second to print money so they can redistribute it because they're Marxists. They're the ones that's screwing up the economy. And for some reason, that hate, for Biden and Kamala Harris has kind of waned recently. All it takes is Republicans with some good campaigns, with a new marketing strategy and a new campaign strategy to get out and remind everybody how much they've hated Biden and Kamala Harris the last 4 years on the economy. And for some reason, not even 6 months before the debate, I mean, we're at 3 months before the debate, or not the debate, the election, and they're dropping the ball. They're not talking about it anymore. I just don't understand why that would be. I think this would probably be the best attack on Kamala Harris, hands down. She's not running from it. She's proud of it. So hammer on this, and Republicans will win if they do that. If not, we're going to look at 4 more years of this kind of economy because, again, this is part of their theory. This isn't just something that happened to happen. Ideas have consequences. This is the theory. The theory is if you can just keep printing money and then reinvesting it in Americans by redistributing it from the wealthy to the poor, the middle class, then somehow inflation won't matter because wages will go up. That has never happened. It's never happened once. Not to mention the fact that Trump's tax policies from 2017 are up for, they have to be redone. Congress has to repass them in 2025. I'm not so sure that, a Kamala Harris administration is going to sign that bill. She might. I mean, it's not going to look great, but it's consistent with the ideology that she would not do that. It isn't just the economy that is growing pessimism in American politics, though. Joe Rogan gave an absolutely chilling warning to Americans about how Americans are thinking about this election. I think it's really interesting. Take a look.
She's going to win. I feel like we are in this very bizarre time where people are giving in to the in a way that I never suspected people would before. And this is one, they just want no Trump no matter what, and they're willing to gaslight themselves. She's the least popular vice president of all time, and then in a moment in time, all of a sudden she's our solution. She's our hero. Try Googling a negative story on her. You won't find one. I would have thought that Trump getting shot would that's it. Election's over. But it's they memory hold that so quick.
So Joe Rogan is absolutely right. When he says that people immediately switched, it does point to me that it's more of a product of being excited that Biden's not in than anything. And so again, I truly believe the polls are going to sour for her. And I think, again, it's the honeymoon phase. We don't know how long it will last, but people just switching on the dime, I think that's just more of a relief that Biden's not in there. I'm hoping. Again, we're not sure yet. We don't know how. If the honeymoon phase lasts all the way until the election, it's going to be very bad for Donald Trump. Part of that requires, though, that the media is actually going to have to interview her and for her to get on the debate stage with Donald Trump, which is why I've emphasized so much that if the media won't do their job, which we can't expect them to because they never do, Trump has to demand a debate from Kamala Harris and he needs to be bullish about it. But what he says at the end there, what Joe Rogan says about what is happening with big tech collusion and changing stories, it is shocking. I saw online that someone searched for a Trump rally and all that came up with was Kamala Harris rallies. I mean, that's really where we're at. You cannot find the information that you want. Big tech is totally they had a huge influence in 2016 and 2020. I'm sure well before that, but it wasn't on people's radar as much as it is today. It's going to have a huge effect in this election as well. And again, we can whine and complain about it as conservatives, but I want to hear what the plan is. Trump needs to have a plan. Part of that is using the money that he has gotten. He's had very good fundraising luck. He needs to continue using that well in marketing campaigns against Kamala Harris. So again, and the question is like, why is it Google's job to simp for Kamala? Why do we allow them to do that? Because these things have real consequences, as I just talked about. And as Joe Rogan said, I hate to take this pessimistic kind of thought and this route with all of this, but I am not so sure that Americans are smart enough to act in their best interest anymore. Americans just, the track record shows they do not do that. When you have polls, again, the polling for Trump on the economy looks pretty good. Most people agree that he does better, but still, when you see like 45% of people saying that Kamala Harris will do better on the economy than Donald Trump, it's just bewildering that anybody could possibly believe that. And it's because they truly don't want their best interests at heart. They have other things at play. As much as I want to say Americans can see through the media crap, I think there are a lot of them that do not understand the radical politician that Kamala Harris is. They just don't know, because Kamala Harris has completely redefined her campaign and who she is as this kind of moderate prosecutor. It could not be further from the truth. But the Trump campaign has not done a good job of defining her for who she really is. They have got to get moving on that. I think the most effective way of doing that is talking about the economy, because that's where Trump is the strongest. Speaking about immigration is also really important, but Trump has to be really careful when he talks about immigration. He needs to do it his way. I'm not saying he needs to be politician-y about it, but he also needs to do it in a way that is appealing not just to his base, but to independent voters who are being affected. Again, there's a big correlation between the immigration and the economic issue anyway. I mean, one of the big problems with immigration right now is that it's taking those blue-collar jobs. Like, there's just no way around it. And that's a big deal for people in Michigan, Wisconsin, in Pennsylvania. That's a massive deal. It will have a huge effect. Even a massive deal in Arizona and Georgia, for that matter. I mean, you're in Arizona, you're in Nevada, you've got tons of Hispanics over there, and they're taking these blue-collar jobs. That's a huge pitch from Donald Trump, just to simply say, hey, I don't hate anybody, but they can't come in illegally, and they certainly can't come in illegally if they're taking your job. And by the way, aren't you feeling that right now? Aren't you feeling you can't really get a job very easily? If he just said it that simply, I know people would grasp onto it, but Republicans, for whatever reason, are kind of dropping the ball on media at the moment. They have got to get back on. One more story for you guys. This is a departure from what we've been talking about, but it was very shocking, and I got to share it. Kyle Rittenhouse just came out and said he is not voting for Donald Trump. This was a complete shock to me. Here is that video with his announcement.
Hi, I'm Kyle Rittenhouse, Outreach Director for Texas Gun Rights. A lot of people are upset that I said I'm going to be writing in Ron Paul for President of the United States. And that is true. I will be writing in Ron Paul. Unfortunately, Donald Trump had bad advisors making him bad on the Second Amendment, and that is my issue. If you cannot be completely uncompromisable on the Second Amendment, I will not vote for you, and I will write somebody else in. We need champions for the Second Amendment, or our rights will be eaten away and eroded each day. I support my decision, and I have no takebacks.
So my initial reaction to this is I think this is really, really dumb, because politics is not about absolutism. I talk about this a lot. I understand the Second Amendment is important to Kyle. I think his Second Amendment is my pro-life stance. It's so incredibly important to me that abortion just gets banned outright in America. But here's the thing. I understand Trump isn't as resolute on the Second Amendment or abortion as I would like. That's just the reality. And the reason why he can't be is because Trump is not a king. He has 100 senators and over 400 congresspeople and justices and the bureaucracy that he has to contend with. And that's a good thing, by the way. The bureaucracy, not so much, but the senators, the congressmen, and the justices, that's important. We don't want kings, because when Democrats are in, we don't want Democrats to just be able to do whatever they want. And so Donald Trump just can't do whatever he wants. I feel like this is what Kyle Rittenhouse wants. He just wants a president who can just do whatever he wants, and that's not how our republic works. It's never supposed to work that way. It shouldn't work that way. He has to be pragmatic. Donald Trump's job is to not be an absolutist, but his job is to win. He is trying to make a large, diverse coalition to win. You're seeing the GOP do this. This is why in the RNC, they had all these people who you would never really see in an RNC, but suddenly they were coming together because Donald Trump is showing, hey, we'll take anybody. Come join the party. Come vote with us. And as a Republican, that's a really good thing. Sure, you're not going to get that absolutism, but you're going to win. You're going to actually win elections. And so Kyle Rittenhouse is just throwing away his vote for nothing. Again, he can go out there and talk about how he loves Ron Paul. No problem with that. That Ron Paul, he's the man, best on the Second Amendment, cool. But when it comes down to it, Ron Paul is not really running for president. He's not going to win. And so, again, we're not communists. We don't go for revolutions. Conservatives believe in small incremental change and holding the line of the republic. That's what conservatives believe. If you're a commie, go be a commie, and you can believe in totalitarian dictators and all that, but that's not what Donald Trump is. His job is not to be an absolutist. Sometimes it sucks. Again, super pro-life, would love abortion to be banned. I have to acknowledge that Donald Trump cannot do it. It is not politically viable. It's not. And the political consequences of him doing it could be too brutal for the payout. And what I mean by that is if he goes too far, too fast, there could be a swing over and it could get shot down. People will not be prepared for it. A Republican could never be elected again. And so I have to acknowledge that there are incremental steps that we have to do, and we have to do our part in being smart to get the job done, whether it's for abortion or against abortion rather, or for the Second Amendment. So I think this is incredibly stupid. The only thing I will say positively about Kyle Rittenhouse is that he had the courage to turn a lot of his fan base off by saying something like this. Clearly, he's speaking from his heart. That's always a positive. So I hope people won't just totally denounce him. I think this is a stupid decision, but it's not going to have any effect on the election, so people can disagree with him. I don't think that means you have to stop listening to Kyle Rittenhouse or valuing his opinion on the Second Amendment. But again, it's slightly valuable because on one hand, he's standing by his principles, but at the same time, you can stay true to your principles and understand that politics is about preferences. It's between Kamala and Trump. It's not about choose whoever you want. No, those are the decisions, whether you like it or not. You might want Ron Paul to be in there. I would love DeSantis to be in that mix, but at the end of the day, that's not how our system works. So make your decision. Is Kamala better for the Second Amendment, or is it Donald Trump? And in the future, if Donald Trump isn't the Second Amendment hero that you want, that's what a primary is for. And if democracy, which we are a democracy, even though we are a republic as well, if it prevails, the people will decide the people who will represent us, and hopefully they actually represent the will of the people. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please go down below, comment, like, and subscribe, and watch another video.